The pleasure of introducing to you Marc Watum from South Africa. And Marc is a genuine entrepreneur. He's the founder of the network and the sort of organizational movement, Africa 2030. Most welcome.
Thanks, Thomas, and hello, everyone. How do you define positivity? Is it numerically, empirically based? Or is it relative, based on incremental achievements toward the completion of a common goal? Our common goal is to reverse the whirlwind of degradation that we've created, to restore our biodiversity, and to keep this planet from spontaneously combusting. Just take care of it. With that in mind, I believe that positivity must be the latter. It is relative, as in incremental achievements that get us closer or make a positive contribution to the world's dilemma. And these achievements will not always coincide with a numerical plus sign, product, sum, or difference that is empirically positive. As humans, you see, we are very quick to perceive positivity as the pursuit of empirical increase, regeneration, restoration, refurbishment, and often pair this understanding with the notion that to offset or reduce whatever is negative must also inherently be positive. But is it true? When it comes to nature, it's slightly more complex. There are layers, differences in regional needs and definitions for our environment's demand at different times, both at the local, then at the global level. Whose biodiversity do we then talk about when we enforce the moniker of positivity? Why? We would be wise to treat our planet like the homeostasis-seeking being that she is. Balance. It is the key ingredient for effective nature positivity. To elaborate, I'll tell you a story. We're all children in church in Mali. And the kids have just been dismissed to an outhouse that we call Sunday school, when upon us comes the largest swarm of red locusts. Imagine the entire sky shadowed by flying crickets or grasshoppers, except this time they're fiery red. They come in all shapes and sizes, and they're literally landing all over you. The flowers, the trees, anything green or living. It's apocalyptic, but an inevitable part of nature, says texts as ancient as the Bible. What I witnessed when I was 7 years old was a seasonal migration. And just to put into perspective, the largest swarm ever reported spanned 200 square kilometers with a population of 10 billion locusts. It was plague status. The response in this case by the FAO is extermination, using a species-specific biopesticide. In 2020, regional efforts required over $200 million to finance this. Aircraft, spraying vehicles, and a suite of state-of-the-art surveillance technology to control the outbreak. Back in 2005, efforts cost the community more than double that. And more crops are indeed being saved today than ever before. So there is significant but limited progress. What I propose is to innovate further and invest in ways that would nullify the need to manage locust outbreaks in the first place, to incubate solutions, adaptations at the local level, replicate the process, and let the job be done with greater local buy-in than ever before. But this isn't just about locusts. In Africa, there's an annual $500 billion infrastructure gap that affects agriculture productivity challenges in particular. And they're primarily to do with irrigation. However, of the $620 billion invested into startups around the world in 2017, only 0.7% of investment happened into Africa. You'll excuse me, but we have to look into this untapped realm of youth-led innovation because I know we have the capability to resolve these issues. In front of you here is a layman's version of the Vision 2030 Fund's operation. We are developing an index to help us identify what we call innovation-dependent spheres of our food and water value chains. It corresponds to a VR map, which has infinite applications to be developed within it. We trace the inputs, the processes, the outputs of the value chain and reference their efficiencies to any agricultural product, a crop. The result is a pinpoint rating system that tells us exactly where in the value chain innovation is needed to make a positive outcome for people who depend on the crop. It is an in-house tool being used to guide our investment strategy, but I'm happy to announce today that this tool will go public before the end of COP28 in the UAE, and I hope to be there to unveil it to all of you. So let me conclude by saying this. If you are poisoned, your liver and your kidneys filter and flush you out. And if the load is too heavy to bear, one by one, your organs begin to shut down until the inevitable happens. Ladies and gentlemen, the living organism we call Earth has spiraled into the last phases of life. Organ failure, the downward spiral toward the inevitable. Her lungs are collapsing, her liver is deteriorating, her kidneys are overwhelmed. Resolving these issues is a path that bolsters food and water security for all. It creates livelihoods, it restores biodiversity, and even addresses poverty. My greatest honor is to turn this reality into practical, truly nature-positive interventions. And I encourage you all to set truly nature-positive goals. If we do so using local, inclusive, indigenous leadership in our solution-making institute, then centuries, maybe millennia of future generations will survive because we did it. We nipped infertility in the bud. We rendered rising temperatures powerless. We created space for nature to decide her own optimal mix of biodiversity. We listened, and we did it while remaining positive. Thank you.
Thank you, Mark. Thank you for further deepening the perspective on the value of nature and at the same time, the costs of mismanagement that we are, that's ongoing.